What you're looking at here is an SUV that's worth over $300,000 in Canadian currency, that is. But that still is a lot of money in American currency as well. So because of that, I dressed up a little bit, and needless to say, I have been feeling quite nervous driving this much money down the streets of Vancouver. So what is this Range Rover SV like? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. So this Range Rover SV is known as the P615, and that means it has more power than the first edition that I previously drove. It produces 606 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque from the 4.4 liter bi-turbo V8, which is sourced from BMW. Although this SUV weighs a lot, and I mean a lot, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour gets done with in just 4.6 seconds. With the power and torque of this engine, it feels like as though it's not even trying to move this much mass. It barely takes any effort from your right foot to get this SUV going off the line or to just overtake another vehicle. The power delivery is almost like as though it's in an electric vehicle, because you get that nice surge of acceleration the moment you put your foot on it. With this engine being sourced from BMW, it receives the same ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. In BMW M SUVs with this much power, the transmission is quick at changing gears. In this Range Rover SV, it's been tuned to provide smooth shifts instead of quick ones. On that point, it does its job very well. The shifts are at times imperceivable. Again, not quick, but that's fine for an SUV such as this. As for the fuel economy, this Range Rover SV is rated for 15.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 11 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. The highway fuel economy is quite easy to reach, as I've noticed my average fuel consumption quickly dropped the further I drove. Sadly, in a city environment, it's a lot harder to reach the rated fuel consumption rating. Realistically, if you stick to just city driving, you'll be looking closer to around 16 or 17 liters per 100 kilometers. During my week with this SUV, I managed to only average 15.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Being a Land Rover product, this Range Rover SV is equipped with quite a few off-road goodies. It has standard terrain response 2 programs that can alter the performance of the locking differentials, the traction and stability control programs, the transmission shifts and engine response, and the air suspension. The different off-road modes are grass, gravel, snow, mud ruts, sand, rock crawl, water wading, which can wade up to 900 millimeters or 35.4 inches of water, and a configurable mode that allows you to change certain parameters such as differential lock, powertrain response, traction control, and so on. In the maximum off-road ride height, the Range Rover SV has 292 millimeters or 11.5 inches of ground clearance, a 34.7 degree approach angle, 29 degree departure angle, and 25.9 degree breakover angle. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to take the Range Rover SV on some trails because I was not confident enough in taking a $300,000 large SUV like this deep in the woods. Can you imagine what the cost would be to buff out paint scratches from branches hitting it? I would not want to find out. Although this is the top spec SV Range Rover, it doesn't really feel that great to drive when you find yourself on more entertaining roads. The SUV squats under acceleration, it nosedives under braking, and there is quite a bit of body roll when you're driving through corners. And this is in dynamic mode, so the suspension is a little bit firmer. Now around corners, I'm not saying that this SUV is going to tip over or anything like that, but it does give you that uneasy feeling. As you brake, the nose end dives quite a lot, and when you're turning, again, quite a lot of body roll. It just doesn't feel very confidence inspiring. So if you want a big and powerful SUV that is good to drive, then check out this one, the X5M Competition. It has roughly the same power as this, and costs half as much. This Range Rover SV is more about comfort rather than outright performance. So with that, let's talk about the comfort. The ride of the Range Rover SV is very smooth, but not the smoothest if I'm being honest. The reason why I say that is because at slow speeds, the shunts of the tires hitting moderately sized potholes are quite easily felt through the seat. Whereas in a car like the Mercedes-Benz EQS, it did not feel as harsh at slow speeds. It's not a huge difference between the two cars, but it is noticeable. On highways, however, the ride is magnificent. You don't notice bumps as harshly. As for cabin noises, this is a very quiet SUV. Almost too quiet depending on your perspective. The V8 engine sounds pretty good, but it's hard to hear it from both the outside and the inside. Some of the engine noise is, however, enhanced by the stereo system. But if you just want a quiet luxury SUV, this one is brilliant. As for vibrations, the engine is smooth, and with the addition of the 48-volt mild hybrid system, the auto start-stop is smooth as well. Now let's take a quick look at the front seats of the Range Rover SV. And for the most part, it does remain the same as the first edition that I test drove, I think it was a couple of years now, but there are a few changes to this car. On first impressions, it almost looks like a Tesla in here because there's just one screen on the center dashboard and no other physical buttons. The only physical buttons that you do get is the start-stop on the center console, as well as the park button on the, or next to the shifter, I should say. But all the climate controls that were underneath the screen are gone now, and they are now integrated into the touchscreen. I am not a fan of that. I much prefer the physical dials to control the climate. I think that was perfect, and with this one, Range Rover went a little bit backwards. Because there are no more dials, the climate controls are now on either side of this touchscreen. You can either push it and select whichever temperature you want, or you can push and hold and then slide to change the temperature. Again, I just think that this overcomplicates what was a very simple and very easy to use system by having the dials right underneath the touchscreen. But otherwise, the infotainment system remains the same as the other Range Rovers that I previously test drove. It does take some time to get yourself acquainted with it if you've never seen it before, but once you figure out how it's structured, then it does become easier to use. Otherwise, the fit and finish of this interior is really nice. There is leather everywhere that you look and touch, including the headliner. But there is one material in here that has me scratching my head as to why they chose it, and that is with the speaker cover for the top speaker on the door panel. It's cheap plastic, whereas the bottom speaker is actually made out of metal. So I don't know why they didn't just carry it over to the top. But anyway, in terms of interior space, plenty of it up here in the front, and I sit really high up, so I have excellent visibility out the front. I can see over small crossover SUVs, no problem. But in a Range Rover such as this, it's the back seats where you want to sit. So let's go check them out. Normally when I talk about the back seats, I'm usually sitting in this seat behind my driving position just so that I can show you how much legroom there is for my tall height, and also so that there is some continuity between all of my reviews. But in this Range Rover SV, it is this seat that you want to sit in because this is the VIP seat. At a push of a button, this seat reclines, and the front passenger seat, if there's nobody in there, will move forward and a little footrest will pop out so that you can feel very, very relaxed in the back of this Range Rover SV. But of course, this is not the only gadgets in these back seats. Should you want to sip on the finest champagne, there is a fridge between the seats to keep it cool, along with a couple of glasses to pour it into. If you need to place down your glass of bubbly, at the touch of a button, the cup holders rise from the center console. Should you need a table to work on, again, a push of a button on the center touchscreen will raise a table for you, but you do have to fold it out yourself. Should you need to recharge your smartphone, there's a second wireless phone charging pad in the center armrest. The other charging pad is in the front. And of course, you can't miss those screens on the back of the front seats. You can play your favorite movies or just check to see that your chauffeur is taking you to the correct destination. And finally, if you don't want the peasants to see you, there are power sunshades and you can close the sunroof sunblind via the touchscreen on the center console. Further behind the seats, the power liftgate is a split design which allows for more versatility as well as a place for you to sit on. There are in fact pads and a backrest that you can set up for when you do want to sit on the tailgate. The trunk itself allows for 818 liters of space. There are controls on the side to lower the rear portion of the SUV for easier loading and unloading. There are also controls to fold down the rear seats which allow for 2,176 liters of cargo space. This is, however, when the Range Rover SV is not equipped with the VIP lounge seats. With the way that this demo car is equipped, only the passenger side rear seat can be folded down and it does not fold flat. The seat on the driver's side cannot be folded down, and in between them is that fridge which is in a fixed position. Underneath the trunk floor, you will find a spare wheel. As I said at the start of this video, this Range Rover SV costs over $300,000 Canadian. That's the way that this one is equipped. But even the starting price is well over $250,000. Of course, for that kind of money, it has the usual gadgets like leather upholstery everywhere that you look, heated, ventilated, and massaging seats, built-in navigation system, surround view cameras, panoramic sunroof, wireless phone charging pads, and the list goes on. But it's some of the options on this car that I want to highlight, and the astronomical costs that they are associated with. For example, this blue paint costs $10,600 Canadian. The VIP seats in the back, those are $25,900 Canadian. The copper accents on the outside, that is $4,400 Canadian. The 23-inch wheels are among the cheapest option on this car at just $3,700 Canadian. And of course, all of these add up to make this car well over $300,000 Canadian. That's a lot of money. In the end, who is this Range Rover SV for? I get the impression that this is an SUV for a head of state rather than a well-off family. There are more practical versions of this new generation Range Rover for a family of 3, 4, or 5. But as a head of state to be chauffeured around in, this SUV makes a lot more sense. If you'd like to know more about the Range Rover SV, I have a written review with a few more details about it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or in the pop-up banner in the top right corner. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next car or truck or, most likely, another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.